To get started with Bootstrap, you can head over to getbootstrap.com and you can get help documentation up top here, or you can download the CSS if you'd like. Now, we're not going to go real deep into what Bootstrap is. In a nutshell, it's a responsive CSS framework, and it makes it easy to add some look and feel into your app without a lot of code. There are several other Pluralsight courses you can check out if you're interested there. Now, what I'm going to do rather than downloading the CSS is head over to a CDN link, Content Delivery Network, and we can go to bootstrapcdn.com and we can grab this CSS right here. And what I'm going to do is come into the shell page and we're going to add this in right above my style sheet. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so now that we have Bootstrap in place, it's actually pretty easy to get started with it. So for instance, if we wanted to come into our navigation bar, which as a quick reminder, doesn't look too good right now, then we could come in and make just some very minor modifications and take care of that and jazz up the interface a little bit. So for instance, we could come in, I'm just going to add some classes here for navbar and navbar default that we can add to our nav tag. And then on the UL, we can mark this with the nav and the navbar nav. Now again, for additional information on these classes, if you're interested, you can go over to the Bootstrap link and they have all the details. But let's see what we have just with that. All right, so just with that, we're able to at least get something a little bit better than what we had before. And you'll also notice there's some icons showing up here. Now let's go take a look at that before we go too much further. Now what's been added is in our customers, there's a new little feature that will allow us to delete. So you'll notice that we have a span and we have really a new TD here for all this. And then we have glyph icon remove, and then a little custom one called delete, which just styles it as red. Now when they click it, I'm going to call into the controller, and let's walk through that real quick. So we'll go into the controller. Here's our delete customer, and I'm going to call into the factory. And the factory itself, in addition to be able to get all the orders I showed earlier, you can also pass in a customer ID and we can delete that customer. Now, if that works, when it comes back, we'll iterate through the existing customers and splice out the customer that was deleted. And we could certainly make a call to get all the customers again, but this keeps the traffic really low. And if we go over to our factory, this is going to have a really simple little function here. Delete customer, takes the customer ID, and you'll notice this time we're using HTTP delete. And so this will take care of it. Now finally, on the server side, there's been a little bit added. So here's our orders, and this just gets all the orders and iterates through and returns those as JSON. And then here is the delete. Now because our customers are just in the service right here, we iterate through those and splice it out, very similar to the client side. So what we're going to do now is let's take a look at how we can enhance the tables and some of the other features in the views. So we've gone in and done a little bit with our actual nav and the overall navigation. Let's go into customers again. And what we're going to do in customers is take care of making the table look a little bit nicer than it does now. So we're going to be doing this on several of the tables. Bootstrap has a class called table. And if we just add that alone, it'll actually jazz it up quite a bit. So let's go see what this does for us. First off, you'll notice that we now have a responsive type of table. As I shrink this down, it works really well. That's just a built-in feature. But we can do a little bit more because maybe we want to highlight each of the rows. So I can do a table striped. And what table striped will do is actually add some alternating items here. So you can see that we have alternating colors. Now, we can do the same type of thing in some of our others. So if we go, for instance, to the orders, we can do the same exact thing and make that look a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to grab this. We'll go over to our orders, and we're going to paste that right in. That'll take care of that. And then finally, we'll go into all orders right here. And with all orders, we could do the same type of thing if we wanted. It really just depends on how you want it to look. And in this one, though, I'm just going to do class equals table, so it's going to be close to the same thing. The reason for that is what I'd like to do is come down, and we're going to use a little ng directive that I've already added called ng class. And it's going to bind to total type, which I showed in the previous little area here on introducing the new features. So let's go over real quick to all orders controller. And you'll notice I have this get orders total. And as a quick review, I showed that there's a total type. And when the order total is greater than 100, we're going to go ahead and say success. Otherwise, we'll say danger. Now, success and danger are from Bootstrap. So what's going to happen is when this view runs for all orders, the class will be applied to the row, and it's automatically going to show red or green based on if we like the total or if we don't. Kind of a little indication maybe to management that we need to do something, just to add a little bit of additional functionality. Okay, so let's see where we're at so far. So let's refresh, and we have our nice little table here. We can go to orders. Notice this is green because it's above 100, so we're using the ng class directive to actually bind to that scope property that has the class name. And everything else looks pretty nice here. We're kind of ready to go. So let's go back. We'll go into view orders, and you can see this looks a lot better as well. Now, there's certainly a lot more we could do, but you can see just in a very short time, we're able to go in and add Bootstrap into the mix through our shell page, and then to add some of the Bootstrap classes in for our navigation, our tables, and some other things.